In the vast expanse of the galaxy, where stars whispered secrets to those daring enough to listen, Thompson found himself in the most improbable predicament of his young life. He was just a rookie pilot in the United Earth Fleet, barely out of training, with dreams of exploring uncharted worlds and maybe, just maybe, making a name for himself among the stars. But nothing in his simulations had prepared him for this. One moment he was aboard the UEF cruiser Orion, fiddling with a faulty teleporter module during a routine maintenance check. The device had been glitchy all week, humming with an erratic energy that the engineers swore was nothing serious. Just a minor calibration issue, they'd said. Kai, ever the curious type, had volunteered to test it out after all. What harm could a short-range jump do? The harm, as it turned out, was monumental. A surge of unstable quantum flux ripped through the system, and in a blinding flash of light, Kai was hurled across space-time. He materialized not in the ship's cargo bay as intended, but in a lavish chamber that screamed alien opulence. Velvet-like drapes in deep crimson hues cascaded from the ceiling, illuminated by floating orbs that pulsed with a soft, ethereal glow. The air was thick with an exotic scent, something like jasmine mixed with the ozone of a thunderstorm. And there, lounging on a massive bed carved from what looked like iridescent crystal, was her. She was stunning, in a way that made Kai's heart stutter. Her hair was a cascade of pure white, flowing like silk over her shoulders, framing a face that was both fierce and alluring. Her skin was pale as moonlight, almost translucent, and her ears, pointed and delicate like those of an elf from old Earth myths, twitched slightly at his arrival. She wore a gown that hugged her curves with elegant precision, sheer in places that teased the eye, made from a fabric that shimmered like liquid silver. But it was her eyes that pinned him in place, sharp, amber orbs that gleamed with predatory intelligence, slitted like a fox's. She was Lyra, the Fox Queen of Zerathia, ruler of a cunning empire known for its sly diplomacy and ruthless conquests. Whispers in the fleet called her the most dangerous being in the sector. Beautiful, yes, but with a mind that could outfox entire armies. Lyra sat up slowly, her lips curling into a smirk that revealed just a hint of fang. "Lost, rookie?" she purred, her voice a velvet caress laced with amusement. The words hung in the air, challenging him, as if she found his sudden intrusion more entertaining than threatening. Key blinked, his mind racing to catch up. His uniform was singed at the edges from the teleport mishap, and he could feel the hum of his personal scanner in his pocket, still operational. Panic clawed at him, but he shoved it down. Humans were adaptable, that's what they always said in training. He straightened his posture, trying to look less like a bewildered intruder and more like, well, whatever passed for confident in this situation. Yeah, you could say that," he replied, his voice steadier than he felt. "Teleporter glitch. Didn't mean to drop in unannounced." "Your Highness?" He added the title as an afterthought, hoping it sounded respectful rather than sarcastic. She laughed, a sound like tinkling bells with an undercurrent of danger. Rising from the bed with graceful fluidity, she approached him, her hips swaying in a way that was impossible to ignore. Up close, she was even more intoxicating. Her scent enveloped him, making his head spin slightly. "A human, in my private quarters. How delightfully unexpected. Most intruders don't last long enough to speak." Her tail, oh right, she had a tail, fluffy and white, swishing behind her like a living accessory, brushed against his leg as she circled him, sizing him up like prey. Kai swallowed hard, his eyes darting around the room. Holographic displays flickered on the walls, showing star maps and what looked like battle strategies. This wasn't just a bedroom, it was a command center disguised as luxury. He needed a way out, or at least a way to buy time. "Look, I'm not here to cause trouble. Just point me to the nearest exit, and I'll be on my way." Lyra stopped in front of him, tilting her head, her pointed ears perking up. "Oh, but where's the fun in that? You've stumbled into the den of the fox, little human. And I do so love a good chase." She reached out, her fingers clawed but elegant, trailing lightly down his arm. The touch sent a jolt through him, a mix of fear and something warmer, more primal. Humans and aliens weren't supposed to mix like this, but out here in the void, rules bent like light around a black hole. As she leaned closer, her breath warm against his ear, Kai's mind whirled. He could feel the weight of her gaze, probing for weakness. But he wasn't just any rookie, he'd aced his hacking modules, and that scanner in his pocket could interface with almost any tech. If he could access her room's systems, maybe turn this disaster into an opportunity. The galaxy was full of alliances forged in fire, after all. And who knew? Maybe this Fox Queen needed a human's ingenuity more than she let on. The tension in the air thickened as Lyra's smirk deepened, her amber eyes locking onto his. "Tell me, rookie," she whispered, "what makes you think you can leave so easily?" Kay met her stare, a spark of defiance igniting in his chest. This wasn't how he imagined his first deep space adventure. But damn if it wasn't thrilling. As the moments stretched, Kay realized he was in over his head, but retreating wasn't an option. The teleporter had flung him here for a reason, or so he told himself. Lyra's presence was overwhelming, her beauty a weapon in itself, drawing him in despite the danger. He could see the curiosity in her eyes, mirroring his own. What if this wasn't an accident? What if the universe had conspired to bring them together? She stepped back slightly, crossing her arms under her ample chest, the gown shifting in ways that made his pulse quicken. "You're not afraid," she observed, almost approvingly. "Most species tremble at the sight of me. But humans, I've heard stories. Resilient, clever, always finding a way to turn the tide." Kai nodded, forcing a grin. "Yeah, we have a knack for that. Name's Kai, by the way. Not just rookie." "Lyra," she replied, her tail flicking playfully. "Queen of Zerathia, and you, Kai, have piqued my interest. Care to explain how a lowly human pilot ended up in my sanctum?" He hesitated, then dove in, recounting the teleporter malfunction with as much detail as he could without revealing fleet secrets. As he spoke, he subtly activated his scanner, letting it probe the room's network. It was advanced Zerathian tech, layers of encryption that would stump most, but humans had a way with improvisation. His fingers danced over the device in his pocket, initiating a subtle hack. Lyra listened, her expression shifting from amusement to intrigue. "Fascinating, our teleporters are flawless. Yours must be primitive." There was a tease in her voice but also a hint of respect. "Primitive but effective," Kai shot back. "Sometimes the old ways surprise you." As the scanner beeped softly in his mind via neural link, he felt a breakthrough. He'd accessed her security protocols. Alarms silenced, doors unlocked, but he didn't run. Instead, he saw an opportunity. Zerathia was at war with a rival empire, the Dravex Collective, according to fleet intel. Maybe he could offer help. Before he could speak, a holographic alert blared to life in the room. "Intruder detected," a mechanical voice announced. Lyra's eyes widened, but Kai held up a hand. "Wait, that's me, but I can fix it." With a few mental commands, he disabled the alert. Lyra stared at him, impressed. "You hacked my systems. In minutes?" Kai shrugged modestly. "Human trick. Now about that war of yours." She laughed again, this time with genuine warmth. "Bold, aren't you? Perhaps you're not so lost after all." As they talked, the initial tension eased into something electric, charged with possibility. Lyra poured them drinks from a crystalline decanter, a Zerathian elixir, that tasted like fire and honey. They sat on the edge of her bed, the conversation flowing from tech to tactics. Kai shared stories of Earth, of human perseverance against odds. Lyra opened up about her burdens as queen, the weight of leading a cunning but isolated people. Hours slipped by, the room's orbs dimming to mimic night. Kai felt a pull toward her, beyond the adrenaline. Her touch lingered when she brushed his hand, her eyes softening. "Humans are more than warriors," she murmured. "You're passionate." He leaned in, heart pounding. "And you're more than a queen. You're extraordinary." Their lips met in a tentative kiss, sparking like the teleporter that brought him here. It deepened, her claws gently raking his back. His hands tangled in her white hair. The galaxy faded, it was just them, human and Fox alien, forging a bond in the unlikeliest place. But as passion built, a distant rumble shook the palace. An incoming attack. Kai pulled back, alert. "What's that?" Lyra's ears twitched. "Dravex scouts, they've found us." Kai grinned. "Good thing you have a human on your side now." Together they rose, ready to face whatever came next. The rookie had become an ally, perhaps more, in the Fox Queen's den. The rumble grew louder, vibrating through the crystalline walls of Lyra's chamber, like the growl of some ancient beast awakening from slumber. Kai's senses sharpened, the kiss still lingering on his lips, a sweet, forbidden fire that made his skin tingle. But there was no time to savor it. Lyra's amber eyes flicked toward the holographic display that had sprung to life, projecting a swarm of red dots closing in on the palace's perimeter. Dravex scouts, sleek and merciless, their ships slicing through Zerathia's atmosphere like knives through silk. Their early Lyra murmured, her voice a husky whisper that sent a shiver down Kai's spine. She moved with predatory grace, her tail swishing behind her as she activated a series of controls on the wall panel. The room's lighting shifted to a dimmer hue, casting long shadows that danced across her form. Her gown clung to her curves, the sheer fabric, whispering against her pale skin with every step, and Kai couldn't help but notice how the material seemed to glow faintly, as if infused with the same ethereal energy that powered her world. He tore his gaze away, focusing on the scanner in his hand. "How many?" he asked, his voice low, trying to match her composure. Inside, his heart raced not just from the impending threat, but from the way her presence filled the space, intoxicating and dangerous. Humans weren't built for this, he thought. Entanglement with aliens like her was the stuff of cautionary tales and fleet briefings. Yet here he was, drawn in like a moth to a flame. Lyra glanced over her shoulder, her white hair cascading like a waterfall of moonlight. "A dozen, perhaps. Probing our defenses. They think us weakened after the last skirmish." Her lips curved into that familiar smirk. But there was an edge to it now, a flicker of vulnerability beneath the queenly facade. She stepped closer to him, her clawed fingers brushing his arm again, lingering just a moment too long. "But with you here, perhaps we can turn this to our advantage." The touch ignited something primal in Kai. He felt the heat of her body, so close he could sense the subtle rhythm of her breath. In the midst of danger, it was absurd how aware he was of her, of the way her pointed ears twitched at the slightest sound. How her amber eyes seemed to glow brighter in the low light. "Tell me what you need," he said, his hand instinctively reaching for hers. Their fingers intertwined, human warmth meeting alien coolness, and for a heartbeat, the galaxy's chaos faded. She pulled him toward a concealed alcove, a hidden compartment unfolding at her touch to reveal an array of sleek weapons and tactical gear. The air in the alcove was cooler, scented with a faint metallic tang, but Lyra's proximity made it feel charged, electric. "We can't fight them head-on," she explained, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial murmur. "Dravex are brute force tentacled horrors with ships that regenerate like living organisms. But Zerathians we outwit. We seduce the battlefield." As she spoke, she selected a slender device, a disruptor pistol that hummed to life in her grasp. She handed it to him, her fingers grazing his palm, sending sparks up his arm. Kai's breath caught, it was more than the weapon's energy field. Her eyes met his, holding a promise that went beyond strategy. "You'll cover me while I access the orbital array. Hack their comms, turn their own signals against them." He nodded, but his mind wandered to the curve of her neck, exposed as she turned to adjust a holographic map. The gown's neckline dipped low, revealing the smooth expanse of her back, marked by faint, intricate tattoos that shimmered like constellations. What stories did they tell? Battles won, lovers claimed. The thought stirred a heat in him, mixing with the adrenaline of the moment. "Lyra," he said softly, stepping closer. "If we make it through this." She turned, her body brushing against his in the confined space. "When we make it," she corrected, her tail curling around his leg in a playful, yet possessive gesture. The contact was intimate, teasing, and Kai felt his resolve waver. Her scent enveloped him again, that jasmine-ozone mix now laced with something deeper, more urgent. Her hand rested on his chest, feeling the rapid beat of his heart. "Humans are so vital," she whispered, her lips inches from his. "Your pulse races like a starship engine. It excites me." The words hung between them, heavy with implication. Kai's free hand found her waist, pulling her gently closer. The fabric of her gown was soft, almost alive under his touch, and he could feel the firmness of her body beneath. She didn't resist, instead she leaned in, her breath warm against his neck. "Tell me, Kay," she purred, her voice a silken thread weaving through the suspense. "What drives a man like you to the stars? Glory, adventure? Or something more carnal?" He swallowed, the disruptor forgotten in his other hand. The palace shook again, a distant explosion rumbling like thunder, but it only heightened the intensity. "All of it," he admitted, his fingers tracing the line of her hip. "But right now it's you." Their lips met once more, this time with a hunger born of uncertainty. The kiss was deeper, more insistent, her fangs grazing his lower lip just enough to send a thrill through him. Her hands explored his uniform, claws teasing the fabric without tearing, as if savoring the anticipation. Lyra broke away first, her eyes darkened with desire. Later she promised, though her body lingered against his, reluctant to part. First we survive. She activated a hidden door in the alcove, revealing a narrow corridor lit by bioluminescent veins in the walls. They moved together, her leading with silent footsteps, Chi following, his senses attuned to every sway of her form ahead. The corridor wound downward, spiraling into the heart of the palace. Alarms wailed faintly in the distance, muffled by layers of Zerathian architecture designed to confuse intruders. Lyra's tail brushed his thigh occasionally, a deliberate touch that kept the erotic tension simmering beneath the surface. "The Dravex want our core technology," she explained in a low voice, glancing back with a wicked gleam. "The Foxfire drive allows us to slip through dimensions like shadows. If they get it, Zerathia falls." Kai's scanner pinged, detecting enemy signatures closing in. "They're breaching the outer wards," he warned, his voice steady despite the rush. He admired her poise, the way she navigated the danger with an allure that made his blood sing. In Fleet stories, aliens were often monstrous or cold. Lyra was neither. She was fire wrapped in elegance, and he found himself wanting to unravel her secrets, layer by layer. They reached a junction where the corridor split. Lyra paused, her ear twitching toward a faint hum. "Scouts ahead," she whispered, pressing against him to peer around the corner. Her body molded to his, the contact sending waves of heat through them both. Kai could feel the curve of her breast against his arm, her breath quickening not from fear, but from the shared thrill, two of them. Tentacled brutes, armed with neural whips. He nodded, raising the disruptor. "I take left, you right." His free hand rested on her lower back, a gesture of solidarity that lingered into something more intimate. She turned her head, her lips brushing his cheek. "Perfect. And Kay, make it quick. I have plans for us after." The words fueled him. They burst into action, Lyra's movements a blur of grace and lethality. She fired first, a bolt of energy lancing through the air to strike the first scout. The creature, a hulking mass of writhing tentacles and armored plates, shrieked, its whip cracking toward her. Kai shot the second, the disruptor humming as it overloaded the alien systems. Tentacles flailed, but Lyra dodged with acrobatic finesse, her gown flowing like a banner in the chaos. The fight was over in seconds, but the adrenaline lingered. Lyra stood over the fallen foes, her chest heaving, a flush coloring her pale cheeks. She looked at Kai, eyes alight with triumph and something hotter. "Well done, human," she said, stepping close enough that their bodies touched again. Her hand trailed down his arm, claws retracting as she squeezed gently. "You fight with passion, it's arousing." Kai's breath came in short bursts, the erotic undercurrent impossible to ignore. The corridor felt smaller, more intimate, as if the universe had conspired to trap them in this moment. He pulled her into another embrace, their lips crashing together amid the smoke of battle. Her tail wrapped around his waist, pulling him tighter, and he felt the softness of her against his hardness, a contrast that made his head spin. But the palace shuddered again, a larger explosion echoing from above. Lyra pulled back, her smirk returning. "More coming. We need to reach the control room." She took his hand, leading him deeper, the promise of what awaited after the storm hanging like a tantalizing veil. As they descended, the air grew warmer, charged with the energy of Zerathia's core. Lyra's presence was a constant distraction, her scent, her touch, the way her hips swayed with each step. Kai wondered how a simple glitch had led to this, a dance of danger and desire. Humans were heroes in the stories, yes, but this felt personal, raw. He squeezed her hand, feeling her respond in kind. They emerged into a vast chamber, the heart of the palace, a domed room pulsating with the glow of the Foxfire drive. Holographic interfaces floated like ghosts, and in the center, a crystalline core hummed with power. But shadows moved at the edges, more Dravex, infiltrating faster than expected. Lyra's eyes narrowed. "They're here for it." She released his hand, but not before a lingering caress. "Cover me while I initiate lockdown." Kai positioned himself, disruptor ready, as the enemies advanced. The fight erupted in a symphony of energy blasts and roars. He dodged a whip strike, firing back with precision honed from simulations. Lyra worked the controls, her fingers flying, but a scout broke through, lunging at her. Kai tackled it, wrestling the tentacles as they wrapped around him. Pain flared, but he hacked its armor with his scanner, short-circuiting the beast. Lyra finished the sequence, seals slamming shut around the core. She rushed to him, helping him up, her hands roaming his body to check for wounds, touches that blurred the line between concern and caress. "You're hurt," she said, her voice laced with worry and want. A shallow cut on his arm bled, but her fingers traced it gently, applying a salve from a hidden pouch. The gel tingled, healing almost instantly, but her proximity made the pain irrelevant. "Brave fool," she murmured, leaning in to kiss the spot, her lips soft against his skin. The gesture ignited him anew. In the glowing chamber, with enemies sealed out for the moment, they had a brief respite. Kai cupped her face, drawing her into a kiss that deepened with urgency. Her body pressed against his, hands exploring, claws teasing without harm. The erotic tension built, a storm of sensation amid the suspense of what lay beyond the doors. As alarms blared anew, signaling reinforcements, Lyra whispered against his lips, "This isn't over." They separated reluctantly, weapons raised, bound by more than alliance now. The Fox Queen and the human rookie, entwined in fate's web, ready to unravel the threats ahead. The alarms crescendoed into a deafening wail, piercing the chamber like the cry of a wounded beast. But Lyra's words echoed louder in Kai's mind, "This isn't over." Her lips, still swollen from their fervent kiss, curved into a defiant smile as she gripped her disruptor tighter, her white hair disheveled yet somehow more alluring in the chaos. Kai felt the lingering warmth of her body against his, a stark contrast to the cold surge of adrenaline now flooding his veins. The sealed doors around the Foxfire Drive vibrated under the assault from beyond, the crystalline core pulsing erratically as if sensing the peril closing in. Reinforcements, more Dravex, undoubtedly led by something fiercer than mere scouts, were hammering at the barriers, their biomechanical roars filtering through the cracks like thunder rolling over a distant horizon. Lyra's amber eyes locked onto his, a storm of emotions swirling within desire, determination, and a hint of something vulnerable that made Kai's chest tighten. "The core's lockdown will hold for minutes at best," she said, her voice cutting through the din with queenly authority. "We need to activate the Foxfire protocol, slip the palace into a dimensional pocket. But it'll drain everything, leave us exposed if it fails." Her tail flicked nervously, brushing his leg once more, a subtle reminder of the intimacy they'd shared amid the fight. Kai nodded, his scanner already interfacing with the core's controls, human tech bridging the gap to Zerathian wonders. Together, they moved to the central console, their shoulders touching, breaths sinking in the fraught air. As Kai's fingers danced over the holographic interface, uploading overrides from his device, a massive thud reverberated through the room. The doors buckled inward, tentacles slithering through widening fissures like serpents tasting the air. "They're breaking through!" Kai shouted, his heart pounding not just from fear, but from the thrill of standing beside her, this enigmatic Fox Queen who had turned his accidental intrusion into a saga of survival and seduction. Lyra fired a barrage of energy bolts, each shot precise and lethal, vaporizing the probing appendages. But for every one she destroyed, two more emerged, the Dravex horde adapting, their regenerative armor glistening with an oily sheen under the core's glow. The chamber transformed into a battlefield of light and shadow, the air thick with the acrid smell of scorched flesh and ionized particles. Kai glanced at Lyra, marveling at her ferocity. She fought like a tempest, her gown torn at the edges now, revealing glimpses of her toned, pale thighs that stirred distracting thoughts even in the heat of combat. "Cover the left flank," she commanded, leaping onto a raised platform with agile grace, her pointed ears flat against her head in concentration. Kai obliged, unleashing disruptor fire that crackled through the air, striking a emerging Dravex warrior square in its central mass. The creature exploded in a spray of viscous fluid, but its death cry summoned others, a chorus of guttural howls that promised no mercy. In the midst of the frenzy, curiosity gnawed at K. What drove these Dravex? Fleet intel painted them as mindless conquerors, but as he dodged a whipping tentacle that grazed his shoulder, drawing a line of fire across his skin, he spotted something anomalous on his scanner. A signal embedded in their armor, a frequency pulsing in sync with the Foxfire core. "Lyra," he yelled over the cacophony. "They're not just attacking, they're syncing with the drive. If they attune fully, they'll hijack the dimensional shift." Her eyes widened in surprise, a dramatic shift from her composed facade, as she vaulted down to join him. "Impossible. Our tech is encrypted beyond their crude biology." But doubt crept into her voice, thrilling in its rarity, making her seem more approachable. more human despite her alien allure. She pressed against him at the console, her body heat a comforting anchor as tentacles smashed through another section of door. The room quaked, crystals fracturing overhead and raining shimmering shards like deadly confetti. Kai's mind raced, piecing together the puzzle, the teleporter glitch that brought him here, the Drivex's timely assault. Could it be connected? A sabotage from within Zerathia. The thought sent a chill through him, but there was no time to voice it. A colossal Dravex commander burst through the breached doors, twice the size of the scouts, its body a writhing mass of armored tentacles crowned by a pulsating orb that served as its head. It emitted a psychic wave that slammed into them like a tidal force, making Kai's vision blur and Lyra stagger. Feel the inevitability, a voice boomed in their minds, oily and invasive. Zerathia falls and the human a bonus prize. Thrilling defiance surged in Kai. He wasn't just a rookie anymore, he was her partner in this whirlwind. Pushing through the mental assault, he slammed his palm on the console, initiating the protocol. The Foxfire core flared to life, a vortex of swirling energy enveloping the chamber. But the commander lunged, tentacles lashing out to ensnare Lyra. She twisted away, but one coiled around her ankle, yanking her off balance. "Kai!" she cried, her voice laced with uncharacteristic fear. Time slowed in that climactic instant. Kai's world narrowed to her, the way her white hair whipped in the energy storm, her amber eyes pleading yet fierce, her body straining against the grip. With a roar born of raw emotion, he charged, disruptor blazing. Bolts peppered the tentacle, severing it in a gout of acre. Lyra fell free, rolling into his arms as the core's power peaked. The commander recoiled, but not before extending a final appendage toward the console, attempting to corrupt the shift. What happened next was a surprise that left Kai breathless. As the dimensional pocket began to form a shimmering bubble warping reality, the commander's orb pulsed, revealing a hidden device embedded within a Zerathian artifact, stolen or betrayed. "Traitor's mark," Lyra gasped, spotting it too. The realization hit like lightning. Someone in her court had sold them out, feeding the Dravex the sync codes. Curiosity burned brighter. Who? Why? But the thrill of the moment overrode it. Kai acted on instinct, hacking the artifact remotely with his scanner. The commander's form convulsed, its own regeneration turning against it as the device backfired. Tentacles withered, the orb cracked, and with a final, earth-shaking shriek, the beast imploded, sucking in nearby scouts like a black hole devouring stars. The chamber stabilized, the pocket sealing just in time, phasing the palace out of normal space. Silence descended, broken only by their heavy breaths and the core's satisfied hum. Lyra clung to him, her body trembling not from weakness, but from the aftershocks of battle and revelation. "You saved us," she whispered, her claws digging into his back with a mix of gratitude and lingering passion. Kai held her close, the dramatic climax leaving him exhilarated, his mind buzzing with questions. The betrayal added a layer of intrigue, making their bond feel even more vital. As the energy field stabilized around them, isolating them in this pocket dimension, he wondered what surprises awaited when they emerged. Her lips found his neck, a soft kiss promising more, but the air hummed with unresolved tension. The traitor still lurked, and the war raged on. They pulled apart slightly, surveying the wreckage. Shards of crystal littered the floor, Dravex remained smoldering in corners. Lyra's gown was in tatters now, clinging precariously, her pale skin marked by minor bruises that only heightened her ethereal beauty. "The pocket will hold for hours," she said, her voice regaining its sultry edge. "Enough time to regroup and uncover the snake in our midst." Her tail wrapped around his waist, pulling him nearer, the gesture both comforting and teasing. Kai's curiosity piqued. Who could betray a queen like her? A rival advisor? A jealous consort? The thought thrilled him, adding depth to their alliance. He traced a finger along her pointed ear, eliciting a soft purr from her. "We'll find them," he assured, his tone laced with determination. "Together." But as they delved into the console's logs, a holographic message flickered to life unbidden, a distorted face, Zerathian features twisted in malice. "The fox's den crumbles from within," it hissed before vanishing. Surprise jolted them both. The traitor was closer than imagined, perhaps watching even now. The chamber felt smaller, more charged with danger and desire. Lyra's eyes met his, a storm brewing anew. "This changes everything," she murmured, leaning in. Their kiss reignited, passionate and urgent, a defiant flame against the encroaching shadows. Yet beneath it, the thrill of the unknown pulsed what other secrets hid in Zerathia's heart. As the pocket dimension held firm, they worked side by side, piecing together clues from the logs. Names surfaced, advisors with grudges, allies with hidden agendas. Each revelation built the drama, making Key feel like a protagonist in an epic tale. Lyra's touches grew more frequent, her body pressing against his as they analyzed data, blending intellect with intimacy. A breakthrough came suddenly, the artifact's signature traced back to her chief strategist, Vexa, a name from her inner circle. No, Lyra breathed, shock etching her features. She's been with me since the ascension. The betrayal cut deep, thrilling in its personal sting, curious in its motives. Why Vexa? Power, revenge. Kai pulled her into an embrace, his hands roaming her back soothingly. We'll confront her when we phase back. But first we prepare. The climax had passed, but the afterglow lingered, surprising in its intensity. In this suspended realm, time stretched, allowing them to explore not just strategies but each other. Lyra's response was a whisper against his ear, yes, prepare. Her claws trailed down his chest, unfastening his uniform with deliberate slowness. The air thickened with anticipation, the dramatic shift from battle to tenderness a thrilling contrast. As they surrendered to the moment, the palace's fate hung in balance. But for now, in this curious limbo, they were unbreakable. The hours blurred, their connection deepening amid whispered plans and stolen caresses. When the pocket began to fade, signaling re-entry to reality, Key felt ready, surprisingly so. The rookie had evolved, bound to the queen in ways he never imagined. As normal space resolved around them, alarms silent now, Lyra squeezed his hand. The hunt begins. Thrilling uncertainty awaited, but with her, it felt like destiny. The alarms had fallen silent, but the echo of their urgency lingered in the air like a half-forgotten dream, replaced now by the subtle hum of the palace systems rebooting after the dimensional shift. Lyra's hand remained clasped in Kai's, her claws retracted but her grip firm, as if anchoring herself to him amid the swirling unknowns. Normal space enveloped them once more, stars twinkling through the chamber's viewport like indifferent witnesses to their turmoil. The hunt begins, she had said, her voice a blend of resolve and the sultry undertone that never quite left her. Kai felt a surge of destiny indeed, but also a knot of apprehension twisting in his gut. Betrayal in her court meant danger not just from without, but from the shadows within these very walls. As they stepped away from the console, the wreckage of the battle crunching underfoot, he couldn't shake the dramatic weight of it, all a human rookie, thrust into the heart of an alien intrigue, with a queen whose every glance promised both salvation and seduction. Lyra released his hand reluctantly, her tail swishing with purposeful energy as she activated a secondary holographic display. Vexa, she muttered, the name dripping with a mix of sorrow and fury that heightened the drama unfolding before Kai's eyes. The hologram flickered to life, projecting Vexa's profile, another Zerathian beauty, with similar white hair but eyes a colder shade of gold, her record impeccable until this damning trace. She's in the War Council chambers, or so the logs say. But if she's the snake, she'll have contingencies. We move quietly, Kai. No heroics yet. Her amber gaze met his, sparking with that familiar fire, but now laced with a vulnerability that made his protective instincts flare. He nodded, though his mind raced. How did one confront a traitor in a palace full of fox-like cunning? The stakes felt personal now, not just for Zerathia, but for whatever fragile bond was blooming between them. They slipped into the corridors, the palace's architecture a labyrinth of curving halls lined with glowing vines that pulsed like veins in a living organism. Lyra led, her torn gown whispering against the floor, the rips exposing more of her pale, flawless skin in ways that distracted Ka despite the peril. He tried to focus on the path ahead, disruptor at the ready, but the sway of her hips and the occasional brush of her tail against his leg kept pulling his thoughts into more intimate territories. Drama built with every step, the air thick with unspoken questions. Who else might be involved? Could Vexa sense their approach? Kai's human intuition screamed that this was no simple arrest. Betrayals like this often exploded into chaos. As they neared the War Council chambers, a soft chime echoed from a side panel, halting them in their tracks. Lyra's pointed ears perked up, and she pressed a claw to the wall, summoning a hidden scanner. "Security override," she whispered. But the panel glitched, displaying a flurry of encrypted messages that scrolled too fast to read. Key leaned in, his shoulder brushing hers, and activated his own scanner to interface. "Let me," he said, his voice low. Their proximity in the dim hall created an awkward intimacy, her scent enveloping him, her breath warm on his neck as she watched over his shoulder. He felt heat rise to his cheeks, hyper-aware of how her body curved against his in the confined space. This code, it's got a backdoor. Human-style exploit might crack it. She chuckled softly, a sound that cut through the tension like a ray of light. Human style? You mean brute force with a side of charm. Her tail curled around his ankle playfully, heightening the awkwardness as he fumbled with the device. Kai grinned despite himself, the humor a welcome spark. "Hey, if it works, don't knock it. Better than Fox tricks, wait, no offense." Lyra's laugh was genuine this time, but muffled to avoid detection, her claws lightly scratching his arm in mock reprimand. "None taken, rookie. But hurry before I decide to test your charm right here." The banter eased the drama momentarily, but as the scanner beeped success, revealing Vexa's real-time location deeper in the chambers, the weight returned tenfold. They pressed on, slipping through a service duct that Lyra unsealed with a graceful flick of her wrist. The duct was narrow, forcing them to crawl single file, and that's when the awkwardness escalated into something almost comical. Kai went first at her insistence. "Your human bulk can block any surprises," she'd teased, but halfway through, his uniform snagged on a protruding vent, halting him abruptly. "Damn it," he muttered, twisting to free himself, only to feel Lyra's hands on his hips from behind, pushing gently. "Stuck already? And here I thought humans were adaptable." Her voice was laced with humor, but her touch lingered, fingers tracing the fabric in a way that sent his mind reeling. "Lyra, not helping." He grumbled, face flushing as he wriggled free, the situation dramatic in its absurdity, a queen and her accidental ally fumbling like teenagers in a ventilation shaft while treason loomed. She followed, emerging with her gown even more disheveled, a rip now exposing the curve of her hip. Kai averted his eyes, but not before she caught him looking. "See something you like?" she purred, heightening the drama with a wink that made him stammer. Just checking for injuries." Professional courtesy. Her laughter echoed softly in the duct, a little humor piercing the suspense. "Sure, rookie. Keep telling yourself that." They dropped into the antechamber silently, the war council room just beyond a ornate door, carved with Zerathian motifs of foxes and hunt. Drama pulsed in the air, muffled voices filtered through Vexa's, sharp and commanding, conversing with holograms. Kai and Lyra exchanged glances, her expression hardening. "She's briefing phantoms," Lyra whispered, "or allies in disguise." They crept closer, Kai's heart thundering as he hacked the door's lock. It slid open with a hiss, revealing Vexa at a grand table, surrounded by flickering holos of Dravek's emissaries. The betrayal was laid bare. She was mid-sentence, outlining Zerathia's defenses, her golden eyes gleaming with ambition. "Vexa." Lyra's voice cracked like a whip, heightening the drama to a fever pitch. The traitor spun, her white hair whipping around, surprise morphing into a sly grin. "My queen. And a pet human? How quaint." The room tensed, guards loyal or not. Materializing from alcoves, their disruptors trained uncertainly. Kai raised his weapon, positioning himself between Lyra and the threat, the awkwardness of moments ago forgotten in the thrilling standoff. "This ends now," he declared, voice steady despite the odds. Vexa laughed, a cold, humorless sound that echoed mockingly. "Ends? It begins, fool. The Draveks offer power beyond your primitive dreams." She gestured, and a hidden panel opened, releasing a swarm of microdrones that buzzed toward them like angry insects. Drama exploded. Kai fired wildly, bolts zapping drones mid-air, while Lyra leaped into action, her claws extended, slashing through the air with feral grace. One drone grazed Kai's arm, sending a jolt of pain, but he pushed through, humor flickering absurdly in his mind. Note to self next time: teleport into a spa, not a war zone. Lyra fought beside him, their movements syncing like a deadly dance, but Vexa's escape pod activated, the traitor slipping toward it with a taunting wave. "Catch me if you can, lovers!" The word lovers hung awkwardly, heightening the drama as guards hesitated, torn between loyalties. Kai Dove tackling a guard who turned on them, the scuffle comical in its clumsiness, uniforms tangling, disruptors clattering, traitors everywhere. He yelled, pinning the foe with a lucky hold. Lyra dispatched another with a precise shot, her tail lashing in frustration. "Not all, some are mine still." The chamber devolved into chaos, drones exploding in sparks, holos flickering out as systems overloaded. Vexa reached her pod, but Kai, in a surge of human ingenuity, hurled his scanner like a grenade. It interfaced mid-flight, jamming the pod's launch. Vexa snarled, trapped momentarily, her composure cracking. "You think a human can stop me?" She spat, charging with claws bared. Lyra intercepted, the two Zerathians clashing in a whirlwind of white hair and fury, sisters in betrayal locked in combat. Kai watched, heart and throat, the drama unbearable, Lyra's gown shredding further, her body a blur of strength and vulnerability. He joined the fray, disrupting Vexa's balance with a well-timed shot to her leg. She stumbled, and Lyra pinned her, claws at throat. "Why, Vexa? We were kin." The traitor's eyes flashed with resentment. "You hoard the throne, blind to greater alliances. The Dravex promised me rule." Humor crept in awkwardly as Vexa glanced at Kai. "And you bet a human? Pathetic." Lyra's cheeks flushed, a rare sight heightening the awkward tension. "Jealousy doesn't suit you." Guards, now loyal ones prevailing, secured Vexa, dragging her away. But as silence settled, a new alarm blared. Dravex fleet incoming, alerted by the skirmish. Drama peaked. Zerathia on the brink, betrayal exposed but war escalating. Kai pulled Lyra close, her body trembling with exhaustion and emotion. "We did it," he said, trying humor to lighten the load. "Though next time, maybe warn me about the family drama." She smiled weakly, leaning into him, her lips brushing his ear. "Oh, rookie, this is just the appetizer." Their embrace deepened, awkward in the wreckage but thrilling, as ships loomed on the viewport. They rallied the remaining forces, Kai's human tactics blending with Zerathian cunning. As battle stations activated, he stole a kiss, heightening the intimacy amid impending doom. "For luck," he quipped. Lyra purred. "Luck. With you it's destiny." But Vexa's parting words echoed, adding curious doubt. Who else lurked in shadows? The fleet engaged, lasers streaking across space, Kai at a console hacking enemy shields. Drama surged with each hit, the palace rocking. Lyra commanded from the bridge they'd rushed to, her presence inspiring. An awkward moment arose when a comms glitch broadcast their earlier banter, palace-wide human charm. A voice echoed, drawing chuckles from crew. Kai blushed, Lyra grinning. "Focus everyone." Humor laced the tension, but as a massive Dravex cruiser targeted them, stakes soared. Kai's hack succeeded, shields dropping, victory tantalizing. Yet in the thrill, Lyra was hit by debris, collapsing into his arms. "No," he cried, drama cresting. She stirred, whispering, "Not done yet." Her resilience, fox-like and fierce, pulled them through. As the enemy retreated, battered, the palace cheered. But Lyra's wound, though minor, led to an awkward infirmary visit, her insisting on privacy, him fumbling with alien med kits. "Hold still," he said, applying salve to her side, hands trembling on her skin. She teased, nervous. "After all we've done." Humor softened the drama, their laughter echoing. Yet peace was fleeting. Scouts reported Dravex regrouping. Kai and Lyra, bound tighter, prepared for more. In quiet moments their touches grew bolder, awkward explorations turning passionate. "You're my anchor," she admitted, heightening emotional depths. He replied, "And you're my fire." As night fell on Zerathia, they retreated to her chambers, drama simmering, ready to ignite. As night enveloped Zerathia in a cloak of shimmering stars, visible through the vast windows of the palace, Kai and Lyra made their way back to her chambers, the weight of the day's battles clinging to them like a second skin. The corridors, once echoing with alarms and clashes, now hummed with a quiet restoration, guards nodding in respect as they passed. Lyra's hand found his again, her fingers intertwining with a gentle insistence that spoke volumes of the bond they'd forged amid the chaos. Her wound, bandaged now with a glowing salve that accelerated healing, caused her to lean slightly against him, her body warm and resilient despite the ordeal. Kai supported her without a word, his arm around her waist, feeling the subtle rhythm of her breath syncing with his own. The drama of Vexa's betrayal and the retreating Dravex fleet lingered in the air, a simmering undercurrent that made every touch feel more profound, more necessary. They entered her sanctum, the same lavish room where his teleporter mishap had first thrust him into her world, now bathed in the soft glow of those floating orbs dimmed to mimic moonlight. The crimson drapes swayed gently, stirred by an invisible breeze from the environmental controls, and the air carried that familiar jasmine ozone scent, now mingled with the faint metallic tang of spent energy weapons. Lyra closed the door with a wave of her hand, sealing them in privacy, and turned to face him. Her amber eyes, usually sharp with cunning, softened in the low light, revealing a depth of emotion that heightened the intimacy of the moment. "We've earned this respite," she murmured, her voice a velvet caress that sent a shiver through him. She stepped closer, her torn gown slipping slightly from one shoulder, exposing the smooth curve of her pale skin marked only by the healing bruise. Kai reached out, his fingers tracing the edge of the fabric gently, careful not to press too hard on her injury. "You were incredible out there," he said, his tone laced with admiration and something deeper, a pull that had been building since their first charged encounter. The awkward humor from the infirmary faded into a tender seriousness, the drama of their shared victories drawing them inexorably together. Lyra's tail curled around his leg, a possessive yet affectionate gesture, as she tilted her head, her pointed ears twitching slightly. "And you, my human anchor," she replied, her claws retracting fully as she placed her hands on his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart. "You've awakened something in me, a fire I thought reserved for battles alone." Their lips met in a kiss that started slow, exploratory, a natural extension of the embraces they'd stolen amid the fights. Kai's hands moved to her waist, pulling her closer, mindful of her wound but encouraged by her soft sigh against his mouth. The kiss deepened, fueled by the pent-up emotions of the day, the thrill of survival, the sting of betrayal, the undeniable attraction that transcended species. Lyra's body pressed against his, her curves fitting perfectly, as if the universe had designed them for this very connection. She guided him toward the massive crystal bed, her movements graceful even in fatigue, her white hair cascading like a silken veil over them both. As they sank onto the plush surface, the orbs above dimmed further, casting a romantic haze that blurred the edges of reality. Kai's uniform came away piece by piece, discarded with gentle urgency, while Lyra's gown pooled around her like liquid silver melting away. In the quiet sanctuary, away from the eyes of her court and the threats of the galaxy, they explored each other with a reverence born of mutual respect and growing affection. Her skin was cool and smooth under his touch, like polished marble warmed by inner fire, and she responded to his caresses with soft purrs that vibrated through him, heightening every sensation. Kai marveled at her form, the elegant lines of her body, the subtle strength in her limbs, the way her tail wrapped around them both, drawing them into a cocoon of intimacy. Time stretched in that private world, their connection unfolding in waves of tenderness and passion. Lyra's hands roamed his back, tracing the contours of his muscles, her touch light yet insistent, evoking responses that made his breath hitch. He reciprocated, discovering the sensitive spots along her neck and shoulders, where her pointed ears quivered at the brush of his lips. The drama of their earlier struggles infused the moment with intensity, every whisper, every shared glance, felt like a victory over the chaos outside. She whispered endearments in her native tongue, words that his translator rendered as promises of alliance and more, her voice husky with emotion. Kai responded in kind, his words simple but sincere, affirming the bond that had turned a glitch into destiny. Their union was a blend of discovery and harmony, bodies moving in sync as if they'd known each other across lifetimes. Sensations built like a crescendo, a dance of give and take where differences human warmth against alien coolness, bold exploration meeting cunning grace only amplified the pleasure. Lyra's amber eyes locked onto his, glowing with a mix of vulnerability and desire, as they reached peaks of closeness that left them both breathless. In those moments, the galaxy's wars faded, it was just them, two souls entwined in a tapestry of stars and secrets. Afterward they lay tangled in the sheets, her head resting on his chest, her tail draped lazily over his hip. The orbs pulsed softly, mimicking a heartbeat, as Lyra traced idle patterns on his skin with a claw. "Humans have a way of making the impossible feel inevitable," she said softly, her voice laced with contentment. Kai smiled, his fingers combing through her white hair, feeling the silkiness that never ceased to amaze him. "And Zerathians make every moment feel like an adventure," he replied, the words carrying a lightness that belied the depth of his feelings. The drama simmered beneath the surface, but for now, it was eclipsed by this profound connection, a respite that recharged them for whatever lay ahead. As their breathing steadied, conversation flowed easily, weaving between lighthearted reflections on the day's absurdities, the jammed escape pod, the glitchy comms broadcast, and deeper musings on their worlds. Lyra shared tales of Zerathia's ancient rituals, where alliances were sealed not just in treaties but in personal bonds, her words painting vivid pictures that drew Key further into her realm. He reciprocated with stories from Earth, of human resilience and the simple joys that grounded them amid cosmic vastness. Each revelation strengthened their tie, turning physical intimacy into emotional depth. Yet, even in this haven, hints of the outside world intruded subtly, a distant hum from the palace systems, a flicker on a nearby holographic display signaling incoming reports. Lyra propped herself up on an elbow, her body still close, her skin flushed with a soft glow. The Dravex won't stay retreated forever, she noted, her tone shifting back to queenly pragmatism, though her eyes held a spark of reluctance to leave their bubble. Kai nodded, pulling her back down gently. We'll face them. But tonight let's just be us. She acquiesced with a smile, nestling closer, their bodies aligning once more in comfortable familiarity. The night deepened, and they indulged in quieter explorations, rediscovering each other with renewed tenderness. Sensations lingered, soft touches evolving into playful exchanges that elicited laughter mingled with sighs. Lyra's tail teased along his side, drawing patterns that made him chuckle, the sound echoing warmly in the chamber. "You're incorrigible," he teased, capturing her hand to kiss her palm. She purred in response, her form shifting to straddle him lightly, her weight a welcome pressure. "And you're addictive," she countered, leaning down for a kiss that reignited the spark. Their connection flowed naturally, building again to moments of profound closeness where emotions intertwined with physical bliss. Kai felt every nuance, the way her breath quickened, the subtle arch of her back, the warmth that built between them like a shared secret. It was a celebration of survival, a affirmation of their unlikely partnership, expressed in the language of touch and gaze. As waves of sensation crested and receded, they held each other through the afterglow, whispers of affection filling the space. In the quiet hours that followed, as Zerathia's moons rose higher, they dozed intermittently, bodies entwined. Lyra's head on his shoulder, her ear twitching in sleep, while Kai watched the stars, marveling at the path that led him here. The intimacy they'd shared wasn't just passion, it was a foundation, a bridge between worlds that promised strength for the trials ahead. Yet, as dawn's first light filtered through, a soft alert chimed from the display scouts reporting Dravex movements. Lyra stirred, her eyes opening to meet his. "Duty calls," she said with a sigh, but her smile held no regret. They rose together, dressing in fresh attire from hidden compartments, Lyra in a new gown that hugged her form elegantly, Kai in a borrowed Zerathian tunic that fit surprisingly well. As they prepared to face the day, their touches lingered, a silent promise of more nights like this. The drama awaited outside, but in her chambers, they'd found a sanctuary that fueled them both. As dawn's ethereal light filtered through the chamber's vast windows, casting a golden hue over the rumpled sheets and scattered remnants of their night, Kai and Lyra shared one last lingering glance before stepping fully into the demands of the day. The soft alert from the holographic display persisted, a gentle but insistent reminder of the Dravex scouts probing Zerathia's borders, their movements like shadows testing the edges of a flame. Lyra adjusted her new gown, the fabric flowing over her curves with the same elegant shimmer as before, while Kai tugged at the borrowed tunic, its alien weave surprisingly comfortable against his skin. "We'll coordinate from the command bridge," she said, her voice carrying the quiet authority that had first captivated him, her tail brushing his hand in a final, affectionate gesture. They moved together through the palace halls, the air alive with the subtle buzz of restoration crews repairing battle damage, loyal Zerathians nodding in deference to their queen and her unexpected human consort. The bridge was a hive of focused activity, holographic maps dominating the central dome, projecting the vastness of space around Zerathia in swirling blues and silvers. Advisors, those cleared of any ties to Vex's betrayal, huddled over consoles, their pointed ears twitching as they analyzed incoming data. Lyra took her place at the command throne, a sleek structure of crystal and light that amplified her presence, making her seem even more regal. Kai stood beside her, his scanner linked to the main systems, feeding human algorithms into the mix to enhance their defenses. "The scouts are fainting," he observed, pointing to a cluster of red icons on the map. "Testing for weaknesses, but not committing. We could preempt with a dimensional skirmish, use the Foxfire to flank them." Lyra nodded, her amber eyes scanning the display with predatory sharpness. Agreed. But we hold back the full drive, preserve energy for the inevitable push. She issued orders in her melodic tongue, the crew responding with swift efficiency. As the palace's systems hummed to life, preparing for engagement, Kay felt a swell of pride not just in their partnership, but in how seamlessly he'd integrated into this alien world. Humans were adaptable, yes, but this felt like more, it felt like home, in a way his sterile fleet quarters never had. He glanced at Lyra, catching the subtle curve of her smile, a private acknowledgement that warmed him from within. The skirmish unfolded with thrilling precision. Zerathian fighters, sleek as foxes darting through underbrush, phased in and out of dimensional pockets, harrying the Dravex scouts with pinpoint strikes. Kai monitored from the bridge, his hacks disrupting enemy comms, turning their coordinated assaults into confused retreats. Explosions bloomed silently in the void, captured on the viewscreens like distant fireworks. Lyra's commands were flawless, her tail swishing in rhythm with the battle's pulse, and Kai found himself drawn to her, even in the midst of strategy, the way her white hair caught the holographic glow, the firm set of her jaw. They're falling back, an advisor reported, and cheers rippled through the bridge. Lyra leaned back, exhaling slowly. Good work, everyone, Kai exceptional, as always. But as the adrenaline a new anomaly flickered on Kai's scanner, a faint signal buried in the Dravex retreat pattern, echoing back to Zerathia's own networks. Wait, he muttered, zooming in. This isn't right. It's a loop tracing back to us. Lyra's ears perked and she leaned over his shoulder, her body close enough that her scent enveloped him once more. A feedback echo, from the Foxfire. Kai shook his head, fingers flying over the interface. No, it's deliberate. Encrypted, but I can crack it. The bridge quieted as he worked, the crew sensing the shift in tension. Layers peeled away under his human ingenuity, revealing a hidden channel, a covert transmission from within the palace to the Dravex fleet. Lyra's claws dug into the armrest. Vex's doing, even from custody. Kai delved deeper, the code unraveling like a tangled thread. But what emerged wasn't Vex's signature, it was something far more intimate, woven into the very core of Zerathia's systems. His heart stuttered as the final encryption dissolved, displaying a log of commands originating from Lyra's personal quarters, the very room where he'd materialized. This is from the teleporter interface, he said, voice dropping. The signal had pulled him here, not a glitch, but a targeted summon. And the originator? Lyra's biometric seal. The bridge fell into stunned silence. Kai turned to her, confusion etching his features. Lyra, what is this? Her expression remained composed, but her amber eyes held a flicker of something new, regret. Calculation? She straightened, addressing the crew first. Secure the bridge. This is between us. Advisors exchanged uneasy glances but complied, sealing the chamber. Alone now, save for the humming consoles, Lyra faced him fully, her tail still for the first time. Kai, my anchor, there's more to your arrival than chance. Her voice was steady, but laced with an emotion that twisted the knife deeper. He stepped back, the disruptor at his side feeling suddenly heavy. You brought me here? On purpose? The revelation hit like a dimensional warp, warping everything he'd believed. All their moments, the initial smirk, the battles fought side by side, the nights of passion flashed through his mind, now tinted with doubt. Lyra nodded slowly, her pale skin flushing slightly under his gaze. Zerathia faces extinction, not just from Dravex but from within. Our empire is fracturing, factions like Vex's seek to ally with outsiders, diluting our cunning heritage. I needed an edge, a human element. Your fleet's teleporters are compatible with our Foxfire. I hacked the signal during your ship's pass-by, pulling you in as leverage. Leverage. The word stung, heightening the betrayal's sting. Kai's mind reeled. Had their connection been a ploy? The kisses, the whispers in the dark, the way she'd purred his name. So I was bait. A tool to hack Earth tech. His voice cracked, surprise giving way to hurt. But Lyra stepped forward, her hands reaching for his, claws retracted in vulnerability. At first, yes. Prophecy in our ancient scrolls spoke of a star-fallen stranger who would tip the scales. I orchestrated the pull, intending to extract intel, perhaps forge a forced alliance. But Kai, her voice softened, eyes glistening. You surprised me. Your resilience, your passion, it wasn't part of the plan. I fell truly amidst the facade. The twist deepened, not just manipulation, but genuine emotion entangled in deceit. Kai pulled away, pacing the bridge, the stars outside mocking his turmoil. How much was real? The fights, the us? Memories surged their first kiss amid alarms, the way she'd clung to him after battles, the intimate explorations where she'd bared her soul. Lyra followed, her gown whispering, tail drooping in uncharacteristic submission. All of it after that first moment. I could have extracted what I needed in hours, sent you back. But I delayed, drawn to you. The Dravex assault accelerated things, forced my hand. Vexa discovered the summon, used it to fuel her coup, sinking with them to undermine me. Kai stopped, facing her, the powerful revelation shaking his core. Surprise lingered, but curiosity bloomed we him, specifically. My scanner logs, they show Earth fleet anomalies too. Was that you? Lyra shook her head. No, that's the deeper layer. Your arrival triggered a cascade, fleet signals bounced back, revealing a mole in your rank, someone allied with Dravex, using you as unwitting scout. We're both pawns in a larger game. The surprise compounded, a twist upon twist. Kai's world tilted, his own people involved. He accessed his scanner, cross-referencing, and there it was, a buried directive in his device's firmware planted before deployment. Sabotage protocol, he breathed. They meant for me to glitch into enemy space, gather intel passively. But Zerathia wasn't the target. Wait, the coordinates, they aimed for Dravex territory. Lyra's eyes widened. Then our paths crossed by true fate. My pull intercepted their push. The irony hit hard, a surprising convergence. Kai laughed bitterly, the sound echoing. So neither accident nor full design. Universes joke on us. Lyra closed the distance, her hand on his arm, touch electric despite the turmoil. Not a joke, a gift. We've exposed both sides' shadows. Together, we can unravel it. Her sincerity shone through, amber eyes pleading. Kai hesitated, the twist leaving him raw, but her presence, that intoxicating blend of strength and softness, pulled him back. You should have told me, he said, voice softening. I know, she whispered, leaning in. Their foreheads touched, a moment of fragile reconnection. Fear held me losing you after finding something real. Kai cupped her face, thumbs tracing her pointed ears, eliciting a soft purr. The surprise of the twist evolved into resolve. Betrayal forged into stronger alliance. We'll confront them, Earth, Dravex, the factions. But no more secrets. Lyra nodded, sealing the promise with a kiss, deep and reaffirming, passion reigniting amid the revelations. As they broke apart, the bridge alerts flared anew, Dravex fleet massing, bolstered by unknown allies. Earth signatures intermixed, an advisor reported via comms. The twist's implications exploded, a secret pact between rogue fleet elements and Dravex, aiming to topple Zerathia for its tech. Kai and Lyra exchanged determined glances. We turn the tables, he said. Using the exposed channels, they broadcast a unified front, hacking into the Alliance's comms to sow discord. The ensuing battle was fierce, ships clashing in a ballet of destruction. Kai's insights disrupted the hybrid fleet, while Lyra's cunning phased Zerathian forces through vulnerabilities. Amid the chaos, a personal hail came from Kai's former commander, revealed as the mole. Thompson, you were expendable, the voice sneered. Surprise piqued, betrayal from home. But Kai, with Lyra at his side, retorted, not anymore. A precise strike disabled the command ship, fracturing the alliance. As debris scattered, victory tentative, Lyra pulled him close. The twist that broke us rebuilt us stronger. Kai agreed, the surprise transforming into hope. Yet questions lingered, who else knew? What prophecies remained? In the quiet after they retreated, bonds deepened, ready for unraveling galaxies' secrets. As debris from the fractured alliance scattered across the starfield like confetti from a failed celebration, Lyra's words hung in the charged air of the bridge, the twist that broke us rebuilt us stronger. Kai felt the truth of it in his bones, a resilient core forming amid the revelations, but the galaxy wasn't done spinning its web just yet. He nodded, his hand finding hers in a squeeze that blended reassurance with the lingering spark of their deeper connection. The viewscreens flickered with the retreating ships, a temporary reprieve that allowed the crew to exhale, but tension simmered beneath the surface, ready to boil over. Lyra turned to him, her amber eyes reflecting the distant stars, and murmured, we start with the unraveling now. Access your fleet's secure channels, expose the mole before they regroup. Her tail flicked with determination, brushing his leg in that familiar way, a subtle reminder of the intimacy that had anchored them through the storm. They moved to a private alcove off the bridge, a secluded nook lined with holographic interfaces that hummed softly, isolating them from the crew's watchful eyes. Kai activated his scanner, linking it to Zerathia's advanced comms array, the fusion of human and alien tech creating a seamless bridge across the void. As the connection established, drama thickened like gathering clouds. This wasn't just a call home, it was a confrontation with betrayal on a personal scale. The signal bounced through encrypted relays, finally piercing Earth's fleet network, and a familiar face materialized in hologram Commander Harlan, Kai's former superior, his stern features etched with surprise that quickly masked into feigned concern. "Thompson? You're alive. Reports had you lost in a teleporter accident." Harlan's voice crackled with authority, but Kai caught the flicker in his eyes, a telltale sign of deceit that heightened the stakes. Lyra stood just out of frame at first, her presence a silent force, but as Kai leaned forward, he felt her hand on his shoulder, claws lightly pressing in support. "Not an accident, Commander," Kai replied, his tone steady but laced with accusation. "A setup. Your setup." The words hung heavy, drama escalating as Harlan's hologram stuttered slightly, perhaps from lag, or perhaps from the weight of exposure. Kai uploaded the damning logs, the evidence of the planted directive in his scanner flashing across the display like digital fireworks. Harlan's face paled, but he recovered with a bark of laughter that rang hollow. "Preposterous. You're compromised, rookie. Cavorting with aliens? Zerathians are manipulators, foxes in the henhouse." The insult landed awkwardly, heightening the tension, and Lyra stepped into view then, her elegant form commanding the hologram's focus. Her gown shimmered under the alcove's lights, accentuating her curves in a way that made Kai shift uncomfortably, aware of how this must look to his human superior. "Cavorting?" she echoed, her voice a purr laced with ice, her pointed ears flattening slightly. "Is that what you call alliances, Commander? Or are you projecting your own dealings with the Dravex?" Harlan's eyes widened, the drama peaking as he spluttered. "Who is this?" "Thompson, stand down, that's an order." But Kai, emboldened by Lyra's proximity, shot back. "Orders from a traitor? No thanks. We've got proof of your packed tech trades for territory. Zerathia's not your pawn." The exchange devolved into a heated standoff, holograms flickering as if the connection itself protested the revelations. Harlan leaned in, his face looming large. "You have no idea the forces at play, boy. The fleet needs that Foxfire tech to survive the greater threats. Sacrifices like you necessary." Drama surged, Kai's fists clenching at the casual dismissal, but Lyra's tail curled around his waist possessively, a gesture that grounded him though it also created an awkward intimacy in the midst of confrontation. Harlan noticed, his brows furrowing. "And what's this? Fraternizing with the enemy? Thompson, have you lost your mind or something else?" The implication hung there, crude and unexpected, injecting a spark of humor into the intensity. Kai felt heat rise to his cheeks, stammering, "It's not we're allies, not whatever you're implying." Lyra, ever the quick wit, tilted her head with a sly smile. "Jealous, Commander? Humans do have a certain appeal." Her claws traced Kai's arm lightly, heightening the awkwardness to comical levels, and Harlan's hologram flushed red, sputtering like a malfunctioning engine. Kai couldn't help but chuckle despite the drama, the sound breaking the tension like a poorly timed joke at a funeral. "Focus, Harlan. Your game's up. We're broadcasting this to Fleet HQ, let them decide." The commander's composure cracked further, his threats turning desperate. "You'll regret this. The Dravex are coming back stronger, with our reinforcements. You think a queen and her pet human can stop an armada?" The word pet stung, but Lyra leaned in closer, her body pressing against Kai's in a way that was both supportive and distractingly intimate, her scent wrapping around him like a cloak. "Pet? Oh, he's much more than that," she retorted, her voice dripping with mock sweetness that added a layer of humor to the barbs. Kai shot her a sideways glance, whispering, "Not helping," but his lips twitched in amusement, the awkward situation diffusing some of the rage. As the call escalated, alarms blared across the bridge outside Dravex ships warping in, bolstered by rogue Earth vessels, just as Harlan had warned. Drama crested like a tidal wave, the armada filled the viewscreens, a menacing fleet that dwarfed their earlier skirmishes. Harlan's hologram smirked triumphantly. "See, too late." But Kai, fueled by the mix of betrayal and budding resolve, hacked deeper into the fleet's systems from the alcove, disrupting the allied ship's coordination. "Not if we turn your own tricks against you," he growled. Lyra issued rapid orders through her comms, Zerathian fighters launching in a swarm, phasing through dimensions to strike at vulnerabilities. The battle reignited with ferocious intensity, lasers streaking like comets, explosions blooming in silent fury. In the alcove, the drama personalized Harlan's threats turned to pleas as his command ship took hits. "Thompson, call it off. We can negotiate." But Kai, with Lyra's hand in his, felt unbreakable. Yet awkwardness intruded when a stray energy surge from the battle rocked the palace, jolting them together in a tumble. Kai caught Lyra, their bodies entwining awkwardly against the console, her tail wrapping around him reflexively. "Timing," he muttered with a grin, heightening the humor amid chaos. She laughed, a sound like bells in a storm. Humans and their clumsiness endearing, really. They disentangled just as Harlan's ship listed, the mole's facade crumbling. "You'll pay for this?" he yelled before the connection severed in a burst of static. The armada pressed on, drama unrelenting as Zerathia's defenses strained. Kai and Lyra rushed back to the bridge, her gown disheveled from the jolt, drawing a few discreet glances from the crew that added an layer of awkward humor. "Eyes front," she commanded with a wink to Kai, who blushed but focused on the consoles. He orchestrated a massive hack, using the exposed channels to broadcast Harlan's confession galaxy-wide, sowing doubt among the rogue fleet ships. One by one, they peeled away, captains questioning orders, the alliance fracturing under the weight of truth. But the Dravex core remained relentless, their massive dreadnought bearing down like a predator scenting blood. Drama heightened to a fever pitch as it targeted the palace directly, energy cannons charging with ominous glow. Lyra gripped the throne, her claws digging in. All power to shields. Kai worked feverishly, rerouting the Foxfire drive to create a temporary barrier. The impact shook the structure, lights flickering, and in the mayhem, Lyra was thrown toward him. He caught her again, this time in full view of the crew, their embrace lingering a beat too long. An advisor cleared their throat awkwardly, injecting humor. "Majesty, perhaps after the battle?" Lyra pulled back with a regal nod, but her eyes sparkled, noted. "Kai, make it count." With a final surge, Chi initiated a dimensional counterstrike, phasing the dreadnought's core into instability. It imploded spectacularly, tentacles flailing in vain as the ship tore itself apart. Cheers erupted, but drama-lingered scans showed survivors fleeing, including Harlan's escape pod. "He's out there," Kai said, tension coiling anew. Lyra placed a hand on his chest. "We'll hunt him, together." The awkward intimacy of the moment, surrounded by her court, added a humorous blush to his cheeks. "Yeah, but maybe with less audience next time." As the fleet dispersed, they debriefed in the war room, piecing together the larger conspiracy, a shadow network spanning species, aiming to monopolize dimensional tech. Drama built with each revelation, ancient prophecies intertwining with modern betrayals, positioning Kai and Lyra as pivotal figures. Awkward situations arose when reviewing logs showed intercepted messages hinting at personal motives, including jealous suitors in Lyra's past. "Old flames?" Key teased, humor lightening the load. She swatted his arm playfully. "Extinguished long ago. You're the spark now." The session stretched, fatigue setting in, but their banter kept spirits high. A comical mishap occurred when Kai's scanner glitched, projecting a holographic replay of their first kiss right in front of advisors. The room fell silent, awkward as a misfired teleporter, before laughter broke out. "Human tech unpredictable," Lyra quipped, pulling him close unabashedly, "but worth it." As evening fell on Zerathia, they retired to her chambers once more, drama simmering into anticipation. Whispers of greater threats loomed, a galactic council aware of the upheavals, but with humor and awkward honesty strengthening their bond, they faced it undaunted. Kai traced her ear, eliciting a purr. "Ready for more twists," she smiled. "With you?" "Always." As whispers of greater threats loomed like distant thunder on the horizon, Kai and Lyra found solace in the quiet sanctuary of her chambers once more, the palace's hum a soothing backdrop to their shared exhaustion. Kai's fingers lingered on her pointed ear, tracing the delicate curve that always seemed to quiver under his touch, eliciting that soft purr from deep within her chest, a sound that had become as familiar as his own heartbeat. "With you, always," she had said, her amber eyes sparkling with a mix of mischief and sincerity, her white hair spilling over the pillows like a cascade of starlight. They settled into the massive crystal bed, the sheets still carrying the faint scent of their earlier intimacies, and for a moment, the galaxy's chaos felt far away, reduced to mere specks in the vast viewport overhead. Lyra nestled against him, her body fitting perfectly into the crook of his arm, her tail draping lazily over his thigh in a gesture of quiet possession. The day's battles, the exposed conspiracies, the fractured alliances had left them both weary, but in that weariness bloomed a profound closeness, a bond forged not just in fire, but in the quiet aftermaths where truths were laid bare. Kai stared at the stars wheeling above, his mind wandering through the twists that had brought him here, from a faulty teleporter's whim to the heart of an alien empire, from rookie pilot to the Queen's confidant and lover. "We've unraveled so much," he murmured, his voice low in the dim light. "But there's always more, isn't there? That shadow network, it spans further than we thought." She lifted her head, propping herself on an elbow, her pale skin glowing faintly in the orb's soft illumination. "Yes, but we've exposed its threads. Harlan's escape pod vanished into the void, but with the broadcasts we sent, the fleet will hunt him. And the Dravex? Their dreadnoughts fall sent ripples factions within their collective, are fracturing too." Her claws traced idle patterns on his chest, light enough to tease, evoking memories of their passionate nights. "You've changed everything, Kai. Humans, your kind brings chaos, but the good kind. The kind that rebuilds." He chuckled softly, pulling her closer, feeling the warmth of her body against his. "Chaos? Me? I'm just the guy who showed up uninvited." But beneath the humor lay a deeper truth. He'd become her equal in this cosmic dance, his human ingenuity complementing her Zerathian cunning. As they talked, the conversation flowed like a gentle stream, weaving through plans for the future, strengthening Zerathia's defenses with Earth tech, forging genuine alliances beyond manipulation, unraveling the ancient prophecies that had hinted at their union. Lyra shared more of her world's lore, tales of fox spirits who outwitted gods, of queens who found strength in unexpected companions. Kai reciprocated with stories from Earth, of explorers who bridged divides, of love that defied odds. Each word deepened their connection, turning the chamber into a cocoon where vulnerabilities were treasures, not weaknesses. As the hours slipped by, the fatigue gave way to a renewed tenderness. Lyra's touches grew more deliberate, her fingers exploring the lines of his muscles, her tail coiling around him with affectionate insistence. Kai responded in kind, his hands roaming her back, savoring the smoothness of her skin, the subtle strength beneath. Their kisses started slow, a reaffirmation of the trust rebuilt after the twists, but soon deepened into something more urgent, a celebration of survival and unity. In the privacy of her sanctum, they lost themselves in each other once again, bodies moving in harmony, sensations building like a symphony reaching its crescendo. Her purrs mingled with his sighs, her claws grazing without harm, his warmth enveloping her cool grace. It was a dance of equals, human passion meeting alien elegance, where differences only heightened the bliss. Afterward, as they lay entwined, breathing in sync, Lyra whispered against his neck, "What if we could end it all? Not just the threats, but build something lasting." Kai turned to her, his eyes searching hers in the soft glow. "A true alliance? Earth and Zerathia, side by side." She nodded, her white hair tickling his shoulder. "More than that, us leading it. Your fleet's adaptability, my people's cunning, together unbreakable." The idea sparked hope, a vision of peace amid the stars, but it also carried the weight of responsibility. Key felt a swell of emotion. This wasn't just romance, it was destiny, Iphy in its purest form, where a single human could tip the galactic scales. Days blurred into weeks as they pursued the unraveling. With Vexa imprisoned and Harlan's network crumbling under the weight of exposed truths, Zerathia flourished. Kai integrated fully, his scanner becoming a staple in council meetings, his ideas sparking innovations that blended technologies. Lyra ruled with renewed vigor, her court buzzing with tales of the star-fallen human who had won the Queen's heart. Awkward moments arose, like when diplomats from Earth arrived, eyeing their closeness with raised brows, injecting humor into formal proceedings. "Consort?" one ambassador teased Kai privately. "Or secret weapon?" Kai grinned, glancing at Lyra across the room. "Both, I suppose, keeps things interesting." But the true test came when remnants of the Shadow Network struck back a covert assault on Zerathia's outer colonies, led by a Dravex warlord allied with Harlan's fugitives. Drama reignited as alarms wailed through the palace, pulling them from a rare moment of peace. Lyra donned her command attire, a form-fitting suit that accentuated her allure, while Key geared up with hybrid armor. "This ends today," she declared, her amber eyes fierce. They led the counter-strike from the flagship, a sleek Zerathian vessel enhanced with human shields. The battle was epic, ships weaving through asteroid fields, dimensional shifts turning the tide. Kai hacked enemy systems mid-combat, disrupting their formations, while Lyra's strategies outmaneuvered the warlord's brute force. In the climax, as their ship closed on the enemy command vessel, Harlan's face appeared on comms, once more haggard, desperate. "Thompson, you fool. Join us, power beyond imagining." But Kai, with Lyra at his side, saw through the plea. "Power? We've got something better, trust." A precise foxfire burst phased the enemy ship into instability, and as it imploded, Harlan's signal vanished forever. Victory swept through the fleet, cheers echoing across channels. Zerathia stood triumphant, the shadow network shattered. In the aftermath, as repairs began and alliances solidified, Kai and Lyra stood on a balcony overlooking Zerathia's vibrant landscapes, rolling hills dotted with crystalline spires, skies alive with auroras. She leaned against him, her tail wrapped around his waist. "It's over," she said softly. "Or at least, this chapter." Kai kissed her forehead, feeling the weight lift. "And the next, we'll write it together." They married in a ceremony blending Earth traditions with Zerathian rituals, vows under stars, a fox dance of unity, rings forged from teleporter alloys. Their union symbolized the new era, humans as heroes, aliens as partners, love as the ultimate force. Years passed in a tapestry of exploration and peace. Kai and Lyra ventured to new worlds, their children a blend of human resilience and Zerathian grace, growing into bridges between cultures. The galaxy, once fractured, healed under their influence, prophecies fulfilled in ways ancient seers could never have imagined. Kai often reflected on that faulty teleporter, the glitch that sparked it all. Lost rookie, she'd teased at the start. Now he was found eternally. As they watched a sunset from their balcony, Lyra turned to him, eyes glowing, happy. Kai smiled, pulling her close, beyond words. Their story, a legend whispered among stars, proved that in the vast cosmos, love and ingenuity could conquer all. And so, in the den of the Fox Queen, the human hero found his forever home.